Okay, good win for us. Much needed win, and the way our players have fought and competed all season long, it was we were due to come out on the right end of one of those close ones, and so very proud of the way the guys finished and hung in there from start to finish, as they have all year, as I said. Biggest difference in the game, or the biggest reason for our success, in my opinion, was our ability to run the football efficiently and against a very good front seven of Stanford, and that really was in my assessment, the biggest factor in being able to win the game is to put up the rushing numbers that we did, and offensive line, obviously a huge reason for that. Bubba Poole ran the ball exceptionally well. Coach Erickson and Coach Johnson's scheme with the bubble screens on the perimeter loosened up the front and softened things up in there for us a little bit. Receivers blocking downfield were key to making those bubble screens go. We did a great job with our receivers blocking that up, and Travis did a great job of putting the ball right on the money, and that's not an easy throw to make. It may look easy, but to put the ball right where it needs to be, in stride, without with very little margin for error, is really the key to the play and to get that thing underway. And so Travis did, like I said, an outstanding job of managing those throws. And so a lot of other good things. Andy Phillips continues to be a weapon for us. Hit 2 big field goals. One was about 48 yards there in the fourth quarter, late third, early fourth quarter, which extended the lead to, I think it was 27-14 at that time. And then defensively, outstanding plan by Coach Satake and the rest of the defensive staff. Really only gave up 2 scores. The first drive of the game, which that's twice now. 2 games in a row we've given up touchdowns on the first drive, so we got to get that corrected. But other than that, there wasn't another offensive touchdown by Stanford until about midway through the fourth quarter. So a lot of positives to build on. Now this game, is big, like I said, but it can be magnified if we're able to build on it and do some good things going forward. Playing a good Arizona team this week. Kadeem Carey, one of the best backs in the country, gave us fits last year, and we've got to try to have a plan to try to not let him do to us what he did to us last year. So, questions?
Coach, you bring up that first drive touchdown for Stanford. Is that an issue where you guys made adjustments to shut him down after that, or was it just settling the nerves?
I think the latter, settling the nerves, and really there was the 2 big plays that were the catalyst for the drive. We missed a tackle early in the drive. I think it was maybe the first play of the game, and then we blew a coverage. We turned a man coverage. They ran a cluster formation. We had it defended as far as structurally with our alignment, exactly how we had practiced it, but then one of our DBs lost his eyes and looking back at the quarterback, lost track of his man, and the guy came wide open. And so those 2 plays really were the things that did us in on that first drive. So it wasn't necessary to do anything adjustment-wise after that. It's just do the things we've been practicing during the course of the week.
Kyle, it says here this is your latest road opener out of state since 1947. Is there any logistical concerns going on the road for the first time, getting a team on an airplane for the first time in the season, things like that make going out of state a little different?
Well, I think it's a little concern for the players that have never done that. I don't think it matters when it happens during the course of the season. I don't think that's relevant. But our guys that have never been on a Division I road trip, which there's quite a few guys on this team that will be in that category, it's important that they handle themselves the right way and understand how we operate. And so I think that's a bigger issue than the timing of it.
Can you expand a little bit? You said Louis Sakota was around last week, and just Andy Phillips being perfect this late in the season. I take it you're not that surprised.
Well, we're just elated about what he's given us and what he's done for us. He's 11 for 11 on the year, hasn't missed a PAT, so he's just been lights out, and that's something that has been a big difference for us. I mean, it's made a difference in the complexion of the games, and we hope it continues.
Coach, can you comment on just the state of the Pac-12 as a whole? It looks like a very strong conference at the top, but as you guys proved on Saturday, it also looks like the conference really has some depth. I mean, when you talk about, going up against some of the other conferences in the country, where do you think that you guys stand just as a league as a whole?
Well, I think we're right up there, certainly in the top 2 or 3, without a doubt. I don't think that's even a question. And as I've said over and over, the conference today, at this point in time, is much better than when we entered it. We entered it just a couple of 2.5 years ago, and it's much more competitive, top to bottom. I think that, really on offense, you look at some of the offenses. There's a lot of prolific offenses in this conference. It seems like every week we're going up against an offense that's ranked very highly nationally, and so it's very challenging. And I think that, like I mentioned, we're certainly, the SEC's in the conversation. Obviously, they're always in the conversation. And I think we're right up there in that group.
Kyle, as big as the win was on Saturday, and as much as people want to keep talking about it, is the most important thing you can do right now to forget about it?
Well, yeah, I think that going forward, what we want to do is accentuate to the players the reasons for the win, the great week of practice, their focus, their film study, everything that went into winning the football game, and emphasize to them that that's what needs to happen. Again, we got to be able to duplicate that as far as our preparation, and that's something that, and we haven't had a team, or this team this year has not had a problem preparing, but some weeks obviously are a little bit better than others, and last week was outstanding, and just instill the belief in them that the preparation is absolutely key to your success, or lack thereof.
Could you talk a little bit about the play you're getting right now from Nate Orchard and Trevor Riley off the edge, and if this is what maybe I think this was the first game, maybe they both really had monster games at the same time, and is this kind of what you expected coming in?
It's what we hoped for, and especially Nate. I thought Nate really played well, and probably his best game as a Ute was this game past Saturday. Defensive line as a whole is doing very good things. I was very optimistic about those guys from the way back in fall camp, saying even though we lost Starr and the Kruger brothers and some really good players, that we expected to have one of the best, if not the best, defensive fronts in the conference. And so far through the first half of the season, we're leading the league in sacks. We're playing the run exceptionally well. Tenny Palapoy, is a big reason for that. We mentioned Trevor and Nate, but Tenny is really the anchor of the interior guys, and so it's a situation where we're getting outstanding play up front, and it needs to continue. And to answer your question, yeah, we envision getting good pressure off the edge from Nate and Trevor, and they've given us just that.
You've seen a lot of different quarterbacks league-wide and even in non-conference this year. How about a thought on B.J. Denker, the quarterback? He's not what you would call, I guess, this year the traditional Pac-12 quarterback. He's not the guy that maybe sits back there and throws the ball a ton. He did put up good numbers against SC, but maybe a little bit more like some of the quarterbacks you saw in the non-conference season? Well,
he's very, very good fit for their scheme. He runs the ball exceptionally well, and for what Coach Rich Rod likes to do, I think he's, very, very, like I said, a good fit and able to do the things that are required of a quarterback in that system. And so he's another guy that's mobile, tough to tackle, he's fast, and he does throw the ball with efficiency. So another dual threat quarterback, just like we see almost every single week.
Coach, we saw Bubba Poole carry the ball primarily against Stanford. Is that something that you're going to game to game to see who's in the rhythm, who has the kind of the mojo as far as the running back carrying the load?
Yeah, we talked about this last week, and pretty much the same mindset. If we get a guy that's the hot back, I guess you can call him, and is gaining, making the big runs and gaining the yards, we're going to stick with that guy. We supplemented him with a few runs from Lucky, who came in and did a really nice job. A lot of it has to do with the practice week leading into the game, making sure that we can count on a guy not to make mental mistakes and do the right things. That also goes into the equation of how many reps you're going to get. But in this particular game, Bubba started out extremely productive and stayed that way the entire game. So we just spelled him really to get him a little bit of rest and really no other reason.
And then the biggest difference between Travis Wilson against UCLA, Stanford, the illness, or just kind of luck?
No, we're not going to let the illness ever be an excuse. It's just the ball bounced a little bit funny against UCLA, and again, I've said it all last week that the 6 interceptions were at least 5 of them were not bad decisions and not bad throws. And so I think that him playing the way he did was no surprise to us. We expected him, with his competitive nature and his confidence, to bounce back and play well, and fortunately he did that.
He already kind of asked what I was going to ask, but just about the running backs. So Kelvin was their top rusher the week before and didn't play at all. Talk about that maybe also. And then Carl Williams, is it a matter of, has he just been injured? Why he hasn't been playing as much and why he's playing more now?
Well, we lost both our tight ends, so we had to do something. We lost our our first two tight ends. We still like Greg Reese and Siale Fakaloa Tonga, who are the next two, but we felt in this particular week and with what Dennis and Brian wanted to get accomplished that Carl was a good fit. And he came in and played exceptionally well. I was very proud of Carl and the way he blocked and the things he gave us. And so it was twofold: one, out of necessity because of the tight end situation, and number two, what we thought was going to be a potential advantage for us in this game.
Coach, can you talk a bit more about Kerry and what makes him such a dangerous runner? I think he had 204 yards last year against you guys.
Yeah, he did a number on us. He's a powerful kid. He's not the tallest kid in the world, 5'10", 5'11", but he's about 210 pounds. Extremely explosive, great vision, and great quickness. He's a guy that can really change direction, and tough to tackle. We've got to work it out for us, and we've got to do a lot better job than we did last year on him. And I've been impressed with him, since the first time I watched him play. And I think he's one of the, like I said, the top backs in the country.
I just had a question about your offensive line. Watching Potassi, one series kind of had a letdown.
Mm-hmm.
Got beat on the edge on a speed rush, and then back on the inside. And then after that, seemed to just clean things up. I saw a little help from the halfback. Saw also some of the scheme that ran at Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
But can you just tell me about his performance in particular, how he kind of came back from those moments, and how the offensive line graded out?
Yeah, Cedric's still a young kid. He's just a true sophomore, and he did have a couple bad snaps early in the game. Got him on the sideline. Coach Finn got in his ear, gave him some encouragement, I guess you would say, and he responded and played the rest of the game very well. And so it was a situation where he got got a little bit more motivation and upped his level of play. Offensive line as a whole, I thought, played exceptionally well. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah, just how they graded out.
Yeah, how they graded out. Yeah, they all graded out. As I recall, I think 3 of them were in the 90s and 2 were in the high 80s. And so our goal is to have them all grade out 90 or above. That would be ideal for us offensive line play-wise, or winning level. And so, and you don't rush for nearly 200 yards without very good offensive line play. We were only sacked one time, so that's another indicator of how well the offensive line performed for us Saturday.
And this will be one of the only questions from me as far as kicking goes. But where did you find this kicker again? And when did you know, Kyle, that he was going to be perfect through this many games?
Okay. When did we find him? He sent a tape to us. I say us, really came straight to Jay Hill. I want to say not last summer, but the summer prior. And, he was a skier, obviously, and was on the Olympic ski team, or getting ready to be on the Olympic ski team. And joined the program. Was not really anything sensational when he first joined the program. He's gotten better since he got in our program. And that's a credit to Coach Hill and coaching him up and helping him develop. And we've had a feeling in fall camp that we may have stumbled upon a pretty good kicker. We had no idea for sure because he hadn't kicked in front of anybody ever at any level, and so there was a lot of unknowns in that respect. But in spring ball, there really wasn't much separation. It wasn't until fall camp that he really started to pull away from the rest of the kickers. And we were thinking, hey, we might have a guy that's pretty good for us. And then as the season started to unfold, and he just made kick after kick after kick, and that's just continued. And so we're very excited about it. So no longer do we go to soccer fields for kickers. We go to the slopes and try to find those guys.
Coach, in these close games, the team has remained fairly composed and confident. Can you talk about the team leadership this year as opposed to maybe years past, and how does that lead to the remainder of the season?
Well, the leadership this year has been outstanding. I think I've referenced that a lot in the first 6 weeks of the season, and it starts with Trevor Riley. He's the team leader and the guy that really is the leader of the leaders. And met with the seniors. I mentioned that after the game. Had a meeting with the seniors last week, and it's just a great group. They're a pleasure to coach. They're tough. They're competitive. They want to win in the worst way, and so that's been something that has really been apparent through the first 6 games of the season, and we need that to continue, and we expect it to continue.
What do you see defensively from Arizona? What do they do?
33 stack. They've been playing it for well. It's I think everywhere Rich Rod's been is he's got the 3-3 scheme going. Very athletic. Got a really good linebacker, inside linebacker, really good corner. I haven't had a lot of time to spend on their defense, but they're good, and they play a lot of quarters coverage, a little bit of zone pressure. Most of the pressure is 5-man stuff, either zone pressure or what we call 50 5-man pressure with man coverage behind it. But they're active, give you a lot of different looks as far as linebackers moving around, and like I said, they got some really good players over there.
I know you've been pretty pleased with the kicking game, punt and kick game, but what do you got to do to improve kick coverage, obviously?
Yeah, that's the phase we haven't been pleased with, and we got to take a long, hard look at that. And, of course, last week we were playing against a premier kick returner in Montgomery. Our plan was to not let him touch the ball. He ended up touching 2 or 3 times, and we paid the price. So that was not due to any effort or any lack of effort on our part to keep it away from him, because we tried. But we got to get that fixed, and that right now is, if you look at the football team in its entirety and say, where's your Achilles heel, it probably is the kickoff coverage unit right now. We got to get that addressed, and we will.
Last thing for me, going back to something you said earlier about the conference and quarterback play and things, I think there's 8 quarterbacks right now on pace to go for over 3,000 yards passing. Just kind of your overall view on quarterback play right now in the Pac-12.
Well, it's outstanding, and I don't know, as you mentioned, there's 8. If you do the numbers and with what they've accomplished so far and what's left in the season, that's exactly what will happen. Is 8 of them will go over 3,000 yards. First of all, I don't know if that's ever happened in any conference ever, but most importantly, we're very glad that our guy's one of those 8. And so, it's a quarterback full of very good It's a conference full of very good quarterbacks, and it's just the numbers they're putting up is really outstanding right now.
Coaches, as good as Andy Phillips is putting the ball through the uprights, is there even a possibility that someone else might step in and kick off and put the ball out the back of the end zone?
We've tried that. We've worked all the kickers in the program. We're searching for the guy that is able to do the best job of that, and right now it's Andy. And so it's not for a lack of searching and giving other people a shot. It's just that right now we don't have that guy that can pound it out of the back of the end zone with any consistency or any regularity.
You've referenced that meeting last week. Was it a routine meeting, or was it called by you or by them, or?
It was called by me, and it's not really that out of character. We do that periodically through the season. I meet with different groups, the leadership council on occasion, the captains quite often, and the seniors on occasion. And so that's something that you just go by feel. When you think you'd like to sit down with some of those guys and just take their pulse and see what they're thinking.
Coach, that was your 75th victory, I guess, as a coach. Did you celebrate that in any way, or did you even know that?
Yeah, I went to In-N-Out and had a double-double, and that was the extent of it. But no, I didn't know that until we were at In-N-Out and did have a double-double. One of my brothers mentioned that, and I had no idea. But yeah, so there you go.
Kyle, I want to ask you about your friend Andy Reid and Alex Smith being undefeated at the Chiefs. Did you have a sense that they would be a good partnership?
I did, and I had conversation with Andy about that potential move, and gave Alex my 100% endorsement. And it's been a good match. They're doing great. And by the way, Andy's a closet Ute, and not a lot of people know that. But Andy Reid wears Ute gear constantly, and he's a closet Ute. And actually, that wouldn't be a closet Ute if you wear your Ute gear constantly. But anyways, very proud of those guys and what they've accomplished, what they're doing there in Kansas City. Got another big win yesterday, and couldn't be happier for two guys that I really care a lot about.
And would you say their personalities are kind of similar in some ways?
I would. They're both extremely intelligent, both very even-keeled, no peaks and valleys, very, very steady, and I think it's a very good match, and so far the results have proven that.
Coach, after the Stanford-Washington game, there were some allegations about Stanford faking injuries. Just for you as a coach, to hear another coach come out publicly and make those kind of comments, do you sort of bristle at that? Is that the kind of thing that should not be brought out into the public, into the press?
I really don't have a take on that. I've never been associated with that in a game on either side of it, and so I don't know. I guess that I would have no comment on that. How about that?
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Anthony Denham and just how he's evolved into the passing game for you guys?
Made a couple big catches for us, contested catches on Saturday, so he's continuing to contribute in that respect. His biggest contribution has been his blocking. He's a big, strong kid. He's 6'4" and about 220. And I mentioned the receiving core blocking downfield for Bubba and those guys that were on those swing routes. And he's the lead guy in that. He's a guy that really does a nice job and takes. And our whole receiving core takes a great deal of pride in blocking, and that's something that we stress. What do you do when you don't have the ball in your hands is extremely important, and those guys have really embraced that, taken that to heart.
Kyle, you're at the midway mark of the season. Can you just give an evaluation of where things sit at this point?
I think we've done some good things this season. Obviously, we'd choose to be undefeated. I mean, if we had a perfect world, but we've competed every week. I don't think we've had a poor performance. We haven't won every game, obviously, but I don't think we've had a game where we just say, hey, we just flat out didn't play well, and so that's been encouraging. The competitive nature of this team is fun to be around, the way they compete and the way they care about what they're doing. And so, we're 4-2, and we got the second half of the season coming up this week, and we just need to try to keep things heading in the right direction.
Last thing, Stanford being a very physical team, how did you guys come out of it health-wise?
I think we're pretty good, much better than in some of the other games of the season, and we'll see as we start to get back on the practice field. We don't practice on Mondays anymore. We use Mondays in the film room and the weight room, and with the veteran guys, the developmental guys have a practice, but we'll be able to have a better assessment tomorrow as to where some of these guys are.
Coach, one thing I want to point out to people is I think the intricacy of what Travis Wilson is having to do in a given play, and those sweep screens or the comet screens, there's a lot that goes into that.
There is.
Because as I watch the play, a lot of people might think, that's just basic screen, throw to screen, but he's got to make a lot of decisions there.
He does.
And you put a lot of weight in decision making on Travis on nearly every play he runs.
There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of ball handling that has to go on. We fake the fly sweep and then throw the swing, or fake the fly sweep, read the defensive end for the read zone. I mean, there's a lot of reads that he is making on just about every run play or on that swing screen, and his mind and his decision making is very much like Alex Smith was able to do as far as in that regard. Alex made great decisions. Now we're not running the option game that we ran when we had Alex. We had the triple. With the shovel option as well as the speed option, so that's not a part of what he's doing. But as far as the zone read and reading that defensive end on some of the fly sweep series, he's got a lot on his plate, and he has made very good decisions this year with that. Okay, thanks, guys.